No? Right. We're on the third chapter. You may as well say a small prayer, which everybody probably knows. Asatoma, Asatgamaya, Tamasoma, Jyoti Gamaya, Mritya Amritam Gamaya. Lead us from the unreal to the real. Lead us from darkness to light, and lead us from death to immortality. Then we say Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. That means may we have peace, peace, peace be unto all. And we can start with a small story. So I suppose we have to say once upon a time. Once upon a time, Yudhishthira from the Mahabharata gave a big Rajasuya, big sacrifice, invited all the dignitaries. Nobody had seen such a beautiful, beautiful ceremony and sacrifice. Beautiful food and delicacies and drink were supplied. And everybody was having a beautiful time. And they all declared, all the great sages said, this ceremony, this worship, this yajna, as they call it, is the best we've ever seen. It'll go down in history as the best ever. At that point, there was a knock on the door and a curious creature came. It was a mongoose. It was curious because one side of it was golden and the other side was regular. And the peculiar thing was, he was a speaking mongoose. Have you ever seen a speaking mongoose? No? Oh, this one spoke. Beautiful, beautiful language. I suppose it wasn't English. I suppose it might have been Hindi or something. Anyway, we'll assume it's English. He said, what you have just declared is untrue. This is not the greatest yajna of all time. Then they said, well, forgive us. You know, you're a special being, no doubt. So please explain. He said, yes, I will. You see, once in a small land in a region, there was a family of teachers, just teaching people out of the goodness of their heart. A man, his wife, his son-in-law, and his son and his daughter-in-law. And unfortunately, there was a huge famine in the area. Everybody was starving. Nobody had anything to eat. A few devotees brought some flour, they made some bread, divided the small bread up into 4 pieces, one for each one of the 4 people. Then there was a knock on the door, and there was a man in distress. And he said, I have nothing to eat. So they took all the bread, all 4 pieces, and gave it to him. And they perished, they died. The mongoose said, at that point I happened to go into their house, and there I saw some crumbs there. And I happened to roll in the ground on the crumbs, and from that, this side of my body is now golden. And since then, I've been trying to make this side golden also and match it. But so far, I've never found such a sacrifice as this. So that's pertaining to what we're about to study. You see, it doesn't matter what you do, you can do the same activity that we were just discussing earlier on. The lesson of the Gita seems to be, if you're not careful, about 2 families squabbling over land. But that's not the case. The scale is much bigger and has an impact for everybody in those days. It's akin to a world war. Every war is justified in its role of defense, but an attack is never justified, particularly today. Because today, war is not organized. It's organized in 2 ways, either as terrorism or as blasting everybody, be they man, woman, or child. Even though you say we can do it very carefully, still civilians are involved. In those ancient days, civilians were never involved. They were very careful about it. Like a game of chess. So you have your elephant corps and your chariot section and your foot soldiers, all of that. That's where the game of chess comes from. And there are rules, as there are in chess. An elephant corps can't cut down a foot soldier. A foot soldier can cut down an elephant. It makes it just. That kind of thing. They couldn't fight beyond the borders of the hours of sunrise, sunset. That's the only window they could fight in. Beyond that, they couldn't fight. At night time, they couldn't fight. They could send spies across the other camp. but that's it. So it's fairly civilized, if war can ever be civilized. Before the war, you two leaders come together. The conversation might go like this. So, what time shall we start? And the other side says, well, my chaps are having breakfast at the moment, but they'll be finished in about 30 minutes. Is that okay? Yes, fine, fine. When we blow the trumpets, or conch shells as they were, then we start attacking. According to the rules. And the rules are ruthless. Every person gets slaughtered if they're not careful. There's great skill involved. But still, only the civilian people are involved. And sometimes not even that. Sometimes they decided, let's get the greatest person on your side, greatest person on my side, we have a contest. In ancient civilizations it was like that. Even in the ancient Jewish times it was like that. So you have a story of Goliath and David. Instead of two armies fighting and getting slaughtered, select the best from yours, and come together, and they'll arrange the outcome. It's a much more economic business. Even in the so-called Civil War in the British Isles, civilians, as much as possible, are left alone. The soldiers assembled on a battlefield. Now later people discovered, no, you can ambush from a side, and so terrorism comes. You can target civilians. So today warfare is a very different thing. Very seldom will you be able to justify today's warfare at all. Where any civilian is involved, you can't justify it. And when there's no defense situation, you can't justify it. And today, of course, it's much more dangerous with people armed with nuclear weapons. Some people say in the ancient days they were also supplied with nuclear weapons. Brahma Shastra and all of that. But anyway, that's all speculative, not necessarily factual. Nevertheless, it's possible. So how can you create a situation for the greatest good? People of wisdom have to understand it, but you have to be wise. If power is not in the hands of people with wisdom, then it's a calamity. There's a far cry from a brother squabbling, this is my land, this is your land, because at the end of the day it's God's land. Neither one nor the other. So this subject of yajna is very interesting. And we begin off with this shloka. This is Saha Nyanya Prajastata Purovacha Prajapati. Now, Prajapati is a technical term. When Ishvara, that means God, employs his creative nature, with creative energy, is called Prajapati, Lord of all creatures. So, Anera Prasavishyad Yadvam Ishabhutva is the Kamaduk. Kamaduk is another technical term. Also, Ka, it could be also like this. It's a mythical creature. How does it look? It has a woman's face, it has the wings of a bird, and a cow's body. What does it symbolize? It symbolizes head, in other words, the intelligence of the human. Then, of course, the cow's body represents animals, in other words, or doing. See how a cow can create a flow of milk and a flow of plenty. Represents plenty. And then you have wings, freedom. If we steer our emotions correctly, we'll have the freedom of a bird. We'll be able to fly, as it were. Not astral traveling necessarily, or anything like that, but the freedom, symbolized freedom. But actually, what is it? It's your own mind. That's what it is. Your own mind is your cow of plenty. And the whole of nature is arranged in your favor, it's not against you. So whatever you do with a particular intention becomes your cow of plenty, your yajna as your cow of plenty. Your yajna is the mental attitude you approach all actions, and that becomes your cow of plenty. So when you say we leave off all the benefits of any activity, we renounce all the fruits of any actions, what actually happens is all that benefit comes to you. And yesterday and today we were thinking most about Lakshmi. So Lakshmi, the day for Lakshmi is Friday in any event, but it just happens to be a special day prior to the full moon, the Purnima of this month. That's tomorrow, full moon. I think it's full moon tomorrow, anyway. Something like that. No, it's not. It may be in a few days' time. Whatever. It's nearby. So Lakshmi, what is Lakshmi? Cow of plenty. Lakshmi is the mind orientated toward letting go, orientated toward generosity and giving, just like those people gave their last morsel of bread away. And what a beautiful sacrifice. So growth comes when there's sacrifice. And nature has a way of providing it. So somebody lives a bachelor life or an unmarried life, say, for a woman, unmarried life. And man probably being a little bit more self-centered than woman. But that self-centeredness goes away on marriage. Now you have to consider the other person. It's nature's way of creating a little bit more generosity. Then you have children, it makes you even more generous. Instead of getting all the food and cooking for yourself, you have to cook for other people. It's not good. I may have given this example before. If you're a bachelor and you just get married, then you buy one bottle of milk. That was your custom. Then the wife asks, where's my bottle of milk? He says, no, you get your own bottle. Well, I suppose that marriage won't last so long. You know, they get it from the store. So each person now operating their own individual bottles of milk and so on and so forth. That won't last in a marriage. So some sacrifice has to be made. And the sacrifice made for the greater good comes out as a very pleasing thing. It doesn't look like a deprivation at all. It looks like something very rewarding. The whole of nature gets the benefit and the reward from sacrifice. So what we have, having created mankind in the beginning together with this yajna, this whole principle of sacrificing, then the Prajapati said, by this shall you propagate, become plenty. This shall be your milch cow of all your desires, because as a mechanism you can move the mind and align the word and the will and the creative thought that then stimulates creative energies that we call devas, shining ones, cosmic forces. You can get anything you like from it. If you know how to do it, any thought going out will have an infallible value and less neutralized by another thought. So if we keep our thought pure, sacrificial, not self-centered, with generosity of spirit, a person who understands that principle of yajna and practices it will have a pure mind and spontaneously be dedicated to the welfare of all. Can't avoid it. So very often people make a criticism. In the ancient days, these sages were only looking for their own welfare, spiritual welfare. They were looking for this purpose of life. They were looking for this freedom, this moksha, and so on and so forth. They were very self-centered. They only dedicated their activities to that. They missed all these passages. All these passages there which say, no, when you arrange your mind in that way, spontaneously, not only as a method you did it, but spontaneously, you naturally open out and become generous. You become an expanding entity, not a contracting entity. And the I and my is gone. Even if you pursue freedom from a self-centered point of view, you'll never get it. Because the obstacle is I and mine. The obstacle is the self-centered aspect of it. And the self-centered aspect of it is an obstacle because it's a false identification. I'm not that. So right at front of the Gita it says, Thou art the Atman. You're never born. Now you can have various philosophical arguments about it. But that aside, if you practice is much better. See, there were some people who went And then maybe in that storybook you might find a story like this. There were 4 college professors. They went to discuss, botanists. They went to a mango tree. They got the permission of the farmer. Can we study this tree? Yes, yes, he says. So 3 of them started studying how many leaves, started counting the leaves. Then they started studying the bark. Then they started making an identification. Then they had a discussion about the flowering cycle. And then they had a recount of the leaves. Then they looked around and said, we had 1, 2, 3, we're 1 missing, where's the other one? He was much wiser. All that time he'd been up the tree eating the mangoes. They're much more sensible. So it's much better to eat the mangoes than count leaves, isn't it? To practice spirituality. Counting your leaves will never get you the real fruit of your endeavor. So that's the idea. Now, the whole of nature, the whole of the universe is wonderful. There are some schools of thought that say that this nature is eternal, unborn, but the universe is born. It wouldn't make any sense. You can knock the argument out very easily. Something that is unborn cannot give birth to something. Some say that the effect and the cause, the whole of the universe is cause and effect, cause and effect. The effect is the cause of the next. And the effect is the result of the cause, but the cause of the next cause. But that would be like saying, a father gives birth to a son, then the son gives birth to a father. It doesn't make any sense. So all these metaphysical arguments can be dispatched with, if one understands, let's leave those to all the scholars. If it's helpful to somebody to understand, that's fine. But for the ordinary person, why don't we just eat the mangoes? Why don't we enjoy the presence of God everywhere? And everything we do, why don't we offer as a fruit or a flower Godwards? With great devotion and great love. And the more intensely you do that, the more the rewards, even though non-intended. Because the purity of the offering will have no intention. Nor will you think that God is deficient of fruits and flowers. Offer fruits and flowers to God because, shame he didn't eat today. And you see how he requires flowers. What you're doing this morning, gathering flowers, and then what? Offering them at his feet. And then will he be disappointed with you if you don't do that? He doesn't require flowers. So why do we do it? Lord, these are your flowers. You made them. If you want to use the language, you created them. From you they come. Their beauty belongs to you. And the beauty of the arrangement of how it's produced belongs to you. What's the intelligence that knows how to bring the sap up from the soil? The intelligence that knows how to produce the soil. Look at the wonderful arrangement in a cyclic way that we'll go on to now. How from the sea and the heat of the sun, water vapor comes, rises, forms clouds. When the clouds get big enough, rain falls again. Saltless, from salt water, saltless water comes. Nourishes all the herbs and the flowers and so on and so forth. And we take those carbohydrates, munch down on them, use the oxygen combination, streaming negative entropy on ourselves and scrambling things, producing life so that we can realize God. Look at that wonderful arrangement. If you want, you can debate, are we alone in the universe and all of that? Or you can tune into that wonder and get an internal thrill about it. It's up to you, which you want. Intellectualism will never provide it. It's an obstacle. So doing every activity, and people will do the same activity. In an office, there'll be 2 clerks. One will do the job, expecting a salary at the end of it, and will, despite the fact that they're doing it, suffer from anxiety. Where does anxiety come from? You see, they're a golfer. And actually, while they're working, they'd much rather be on the golf course. But the other person doesn't aspire to be on the golf course. He aspires only to enjoy the activity, work for work's sake, doing it with great devotion, great intensity, great carefulness, doing the activity with great concentration, with great awareness. And what will be the outcome? The outcome will be clarity of mind through concentration. The outcome will be an inner uplift of the spirit. In short, It's a spiritual practice. It's a sadhana. So you can make that milch cow. Your milch cow is the mind. What is the practical shape that can be given to the spirit of yajna? The answer comes like this. Devan bhavayata nenate deva bhavayantu bhaha. Cherish the devas with this, and may those devas cherish you. Thus cherishing one another, you shall reap the supreme good. Now, it requires some explanation. So, there's a technical term deva. You can use it in 3 ways. The first way is like this. See, deva just means something that is shining. If you like, it's a revealing factor. What are the revealing factors in this body? Eyes. For that reason, in the Upanishads, very often the right eye is symbolized as for all the devas. Devas are the indriyas in the body. They're the revealing factors. How will you cherish them? You'll cherish these information gathering gateways and outgoing reactive entities, organs of action, by looking after them. Correct food, sacrificial. All food will become sacrificial food, sacramental food. All food will be understood in this way. This comes from you. There's a hand that offers it. So just as yajna was performed in the ancient days with the fire, and with priests, and with ghee, and with very fragrant offerings, all there to the fire, with certain prayers, it means protecting thoughts inserted, all done ritualistically, deliberately. What will happen? The whole environment will change favorably as a result. But do we have to resort to that kind of yajna? The Gita says no. You don't have to do it. It's good to do it, but that's not the kind of yajna we're talking about. Understand that the devas that you are pleasing through this ancient ceremony, you're pleasing here by offering food in, that becomes your ghee, your offering into the fire. Internally is digestive fire. Who digests your food? God himself does it. As Vaishwanara pumps your heart, never takes a holiday. You see, now we were just discussing, why are there not so many people coming and so on? Well, it's the holidays. Oh, I see. We have to learn a lesson from the heart. The heart doesn't go off to the Bahamas. You'd be in trouble if it did. So what's its secret to longevity? How does it pump for you of, say, 100-year lifespan, if you're lucky? It pumps, it rests. It's a very salted pump. It pumps, tuk, 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 rest, tuk, 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 rest. So how do we arrange things in such a way that we can always be calm, stress-free? We learn to engage in the world and rest. What restful moments will we have? It'll bring in the higher values, noble values. So in all activities we see these are sanctified activities. So in the 4th chapter of the Bhagavad Gita, there's a prayer, and in most monasteries today, Indian monasteries, that prayer is recited prior to a meal. See? So it goes, Om, start off any prayer with Om, Brahma Panam, Brahma Havi, Brahma Gnau, Brahmana Hutam, Brahmeva Tena Gantavyam, Brahma Karma Samadhira. See, the hand, the offering itself, the arrangement that you have, is none other than God. The offering you put in is God. The ghee that you put in is God. The hand that offers it is God. The fire of digestion is God. Actually, if you see God in all activities, you go unto God. Whatever you see, in other words, whatever the mind is orientated toward, that you get. The one fundamental principle of meditation. If you want to be strong, meditate on an elephant. Then you get the strength. If you want to be a worm, meditate on, oh dear, I'm a victim, I'm weak, I'm a worm, and so on. I'm sinful, and so on. Like that. Then you'll become the same. So, it's up to you. So one is the bodily senses, indriyas. How will you nourish them? Is it food alone? No, it's mental food, not just physical food. Make sure the eyes see delightful things, not things orientated toward the pleasure. Your goal of life is not pleasure. Your goal of life is a preferred entity. Your goal of life is shreyas and prayas. Your goal of life is to orientate the senses toward uplifting things, orientate the ears to uplifting things, the hand to uplifting things. Steer all those. In that way you entertain the deities, and the deities then look after you. It's reciprocal. The second sense is, of devas, is enlightened beings. Those various enlightened beings who have attained a certain status. And what is their job? Their job is giving. What is this job? Giving. Giving means yajna. Yajna. I think that pen is gone. Right. Giving is yajna. But here these are also giving, blessing people. What is man constructed to do? Give. As soon as man grabs, then man will experience tremendous difficulties and pain and not really prosper. So as soon as he gives, he prospers. Give all your money away, you'll get all money in return. It's a very interesting formula. You want to get wealthy? Give everything away. Then you irresistibly, you'll be a suction for wealth. Give everything away to charity. Then, the other meaning is tanmatras. You can also call them bhutas. These are called devas. Now what are these? These are subtle forces. Below all the superficial gross elements that we see, subtle forces reside. Like in oceans, subtle forces, subtle currents are there. Mobilized by thought. Thought is a creative office. Thought ever streaming through from the Supreme Thinker, God. Thought streaming through. We can take thought and steer it in a certain way. When we do that, we rearrange these subtle forces. Those subtle forces combine and rearrange into the scenes in front. Don't grumble about the scenes. Why don't you rearrange the tanmatras? There's that ability. What are these tanmatras? Subtle forces, physical forces. So, if you take the electromagnetic wave system, there'd be an example of one such force. You've never seen it. But it's a permitting, pervading area. It permits radio waves, light waves, heat waves, all kinds of waves, gamma rays, microwaves, all there in that system. Permitting system. Technically we call it akasha. So, these are arranged like this, very briefly. And here we have to take on the Samkhya scheme of things and say there are some 24 cosmic principles. We start off like this. We start off with, we're going to start at the bottom. We start off with 5 gross elements. Then we can have 5 organs of action. 5 organs of information, call it knowledge. That's 5, that's 15. Then we have, for counting purposes, mind. Mind itself can be broken down. That's 16. Then, how is that combined? All egos, all senses of individualities are there. That's 17. Then we have 5 tanmatras, 5 subtle forces, subtle creative forces. They bifurcate into these. So if we say we have what is called akasha, I won't translate it because the translation is useless. You can't say space, and you can't say none of these are adequate. You can't say ether, none of these are adequate. But it's very, very subtle, the most subtle, and contains within it 4 potentialities. Akasha produces what? produces all sounds and all ears that catch them. These ears are contained here. Then within it, as it unfolds and evolves, the evolutionary forces come to this Vayu technically. It means, we won't translate it. If you translate it as air, it won't have the same meaning. The Vayu, some people translate it even as a kind of a magnetic force even, and so on. Anyway, Vayu, it produces what? All pressures and all skins that catch them. And Vayu has three potentialities within it. Vayu evolves. So Vayu evolves into something that's shining, tejas. You might even say Agni, but that gives a wrong impression. That means all forms, colors, all forms. And on the other side, all eyes that catch it. And then you find that comes into Api. Don't translate it as water, you'll make the error. But water is the common translation. That means all tastes. And all taste buds that catch it, all mouths. Then finally Prithivi. Don't translate it as earth, but that's how it's translated sometimes in English. No English translation. Something that is gross. It produces all noses, all smells, all noses. Progressing like that. Where does it all come from? It comes from cosmic mind, called Mahat, Buddhi. These are various terms. You can also say cosmic Christ, or cosmic Buddha, or cosmic Krishna, or cosmic Rama, whatever you choose. Is the word, what theology calls word, what even Hindu theology calls Vak. Then, where does that come from? It comes from nature, Prakriti. Is all this. So here we have 5. So we're 17, 22. Then this is 23. This is 24. These are the 24 cosmic principles. If you want, you can add more. You can say there seems to be a Purusha. Use that language. Or we can say Purusha, making a mistake, we can say it's Jiva. That's 24. 25, sorry. And then we have Purusha. Oh, sorry, Jiva, yeah. We have Purusha. That's your 26. Like that. 26 principles. Now what's the value of understanding all that? The value is that this is a step ladder. Whenever you see something in front, you can revalue it in a more subtle variety, more subtle variety, more subtle variety, more subtle variety, until you come to the most subtle variety. And there you find worship. Even seeing this arrangement will make you worshipful. Because there's nothing, therefore, that is seen or understood which is nothing or anything other than God. All is God's grace. All flowing like that, in different names and forms, in different levels and degrees of subtlety, in wave systems. We only catch the tip of it, the gross portion, and make a summary. This is my experience. When you go deeper, we find more subtle areas. Experience broadens. More subtle areas, more immense. Experience broadens. More subtle, more immense. Every time you go in, it's more subtle, more immense. Until ultimately you get to Lord of the Universe. That way of looking at life makes things very useful and very helpful. Firstly, it means you have a mechanism to produce whatever you want. Firstly. Just an arrangement of the 10 mantras. Because you have no mind of your own. It's just a branch office. There's only one mind, cosmic mind. It's Standing in cosmic mind, you make a straight line. So when everybody said that we did spiritual healing, understand, you and I can do it if we stand in the same place. What was the wiring that Jesus had? What was the wiring that Buddha had? And so on. You ask that question. When you find out, you must have looked at it in a different way. Some person said, he's dead. I looked at it in a different way and say, no, he's only sleeping. Wake up. The dead man awoke. And we said, oh, he looks like he has a gammy leg. He's lame. I looked past it. There I saw God perfect. I said, no, he's perfect, full and free. And the so-called lame leg moved. It's not supernatural, supernormal. I just viewed it in a different way. And because it's infallible, because I stand in an infallible position, cosmic mind, sending a straight beam there, all the other elements have no choice. They have to rearrange themselves in that order, like that. So this yajna is your milk cow, and understand that's the order of the yajna. The original yajna up there, cosmic mind, fired up in a selfless way, giving way, expanding way, expands as the universe we see. The only difficulty is we took all that seriously. All those waves we took as concrete phenomena and said, this is our reality, and didn't understand. Now I see. With every more subtle, increasingly subtle wave, the reality shifts, becomes different, until ultimately there's only one without a second. So, all of that is devas. Now, whatever you offer to the Lord is returned to you, magnified, manifold, understand that. What becomes of him who makes no sacrifice? But appropriates everything to himself? So the answer comes in the next stanza. Ishtan bhogan hi go deva tasyanti yajna bhavitaha taye tatan apradhaye bhyo yo bhukye stenagasa. Cherished or desired, cherished by yajna, the devas, these various factors, shall bestow on you the enjoyments you desire. It's a thief, truly, who enjoys what is given without returning anything. Everything requires sacrifice, but nothing belongs to you. You didn't have to apply to a government office to get your quantity of air today. Did any of you do that? No. Good. Or your quantity of sunshine, or your quantity of repair material, white blood cells. You know what happens? You make a little scratch here, you bang it on something, and because egoism says, you see, egoism tells you that you have to make a projection. So I walk carelessly, I bang my leg on a chair. Then I say, stupid chair. But you know, the chair is, poor thing, is neither intelligent nor stupid. But my stupidity is not, that I project onto this chair. So that's what we do, but supposing I do that and cause a little cut. Within milliseconds, the internal bodily repair team is on the way, repairing it. And the white blood cells forming like that. After a while, the blood stops flowing. After a while, there's a network of healing skin covering it. All designed to keep germs away. What a wonderful arrangement. Surely we should be a little bit thankful for it. Even while we sleep, God provides us with, digests our food. Even while we sleep, God sits awake, repairing all the cells, digesting your food nicely, doesn't complain, doesn't wake you up in the middle of the night, I need overtime, you ate carelessly, I need, never goes on strike. We may go off to the Bahamas or something, but God continues keeping the temperature of the body more or less constant. Doesn't matter if we're in the Arctic or in the equatorial region, keeps the body still 38 degrees, lovingly does it. Surely we should give a little thanks, just a small amount, even though it's not demanded. So if we consider all of this to be ours, if we consider all the fruits of our actions to be ours, if we consider even for us to have any independent movement at all, we are a little deluded. We don't become very thankful. We become very self-centered. It's much better to give everything away and just take the crumbs. Whatever is over, the remnants is what we'll be satisfied with. So don't seek for anything, don't avoid anything, but accept whatever comes, is the message. Then we'll have a much more peaceful frame of mind. It's not fatalism. There's a difference. Because intrinsic to that is the beginning message of the Gita, a self-assurance, a faith in oneself. Supreme faith must be there. Faith in what? Faith in yourself primarily. Your faith in the scripture and faith in the teacher. These are the three things that constitute faith. But primarily, if you don't have faith in yourself, the others have no value. So with that faith in yourself, understand, I'll overcome any obstacle. The capacity is in me to do that. If you're traveling on a thorny road, don't complain about the thorns, put on tough shoes. If the roads are full of potholes, get a four-wheel drive. Do something. Do it yourself. Don't sit back and complain. And then claim all the glory for yourself. So that's the idea about it. So imagine you're actually a thief if you claim the things that are not really your own. Nothing is your own. This single breath is not my own. The pumping of the lungs is not my own. The moving of the diaphragm muscle is not my own. The pumping of the heart is not my own. The digestion of food is not my own. The pocket money called thought is not my own. An invested flow. They're designed to use, for me to use as I please. Making it, resolving problems, even while I sleep, waking me up in the morning. For stupid, foolish thinking, it wouldn't make any sense. Why does God wake me up? So I can take this bodily car and crash it somewhere. It doesn't make any sense to do it like that. So He invests in me because He has a purpose. What is it that befits a noble life then, is a question you can ask. What other thing is it that does not befit a noble life? So the answer comes here in this 13th stanza. Yajna shishtastina. The good who eat the remnants, Yajna shishtastina. The good who eat the remnants of the sacrifice. That is the shantaha, the righteous. These are freed from all sins. But the sinful ones who cook food only for themselves, they eat sin. When you cook, why don't you cook for everybody? Why don't you cook for the poor as well? If you buy clothes, why don't you buy them for the poor as well? In my case, if I do a workshop and people give me money, why don't I give that away for those who deserve it? That's the model we work on here. I give a workshop, people give money, all that money goes to flood relief in India or Children's Hospital in Dublin or whatever it is. Give it completely away. I can never get rid of it because of that formula. The more I get rid of, the more comes to me. I don't want it, I'm a sannyas. So give it away. The more I give, the more comes in. It's a suction. Thought is a suction. And it has its pulling power from the unconscious area, subconscious area. So we have to revise the habit level to be always good, always pure, always giving, always generous. So they eat the sin, and then you can bring in that example if you want. Now when you understand that example of that mongoose who attended Yudhishthira's Rajasuya, sacrifice, and came to the conclusion, this is inferior compared to that sacrifice where 4 people starved to give away the food and the crumbs made my side golden. It's a beautiful story. Then the how then, how do you do this, is coming up, 14. There's a cycle. Anad bhavanti bhutani parjanyad anasambhavaha. From food, beings become, and from rain is food produced. From yajna, rain proceeds. Yajna is born of karma. Therefore, it all stems back to action. You have to do some action. Make it noble, make it like a sacrifice, make it a worship. Then not only good comes to you, but good comes to the entire society, not just you. So coming back to the original discussion we had, the entire society benefits from the Mahabharata war. Not just one person, not a 2 people, 3 people. Entire society benefits. There's a much better way of doing it. So that was the original meaning of why they did yajna and why the caste system was there. Original caste system. Not the inheritance caste system. Caste system means that for society to operate correctly, any society, there must have to be self-sacrificing people, people dedicated. I may have covered this before, I don't know. Did I? Self-sacrificing people, dedicated teachers, nurses, etc. People who have vocational training, put in a modern context. Those people are called Brahmins. There was no inherited Brahmin. You earned the position in the ancient days. It wasn't your father was this, your grandfather was this, no. You being a person having the impulse to live a dedicated life without earning any funds or anything, people, society seeing the value of your teaching will contribute and make sure you don't perish. Then because you're a person of non-violent temperament, there has to be a class of people that look after you, defend you, make sure that the sacrifices go well. What is the purpose of the sacrifice? To get rainfall. If you don't have people dedicated in that way, praying, in other words, mobilizing these subtle forces so that it appears in a good way, as it's designed, in a harmonious way. You know, it's only man that upsets the harmony. In Africa, nobody upsets the harmony. No non-human entity upsets the harmony. Animals left to themselves, plants, trees, all left to themselves, all biological species left to themselves, work wonderfully in harmony and accept birth, life and death as part of the arrangement. I can't sit there and say, no, I'm protected by nature. Well, what are you? I'm a deer or a buck. I'm venison potentially to a lion. And then a lion comes, you know, and eats that. Yeah, a lion is designed to eat it. But it doesn't eat the whole herd. Only selects one. When it's finished, it's fine. When it's finished, the herd come and graze by the lion, eating. They know they're out of danger. That's the arrangement they have. Again, I never saw an elephant with cancer. I never saw an elephant with diabetes. Elephants are much bigger than you and I. No diabetes. No heart difficulties. Why? Because it lives according to the rhythm of nature as it's designed. We decide, no, not only we will gather food, but we will make food so delicious, so plentiful, and so much lack of nutrition, and we'll eat it. Why? To satisfy only one of the deities, the deity of taste, and not look after the rest. Then we'll be in trouble. Then the deities will then come back and say, right, here we are, I've given you a present. Oh, wonderful, what is it? It's called diabetes. Okay. It's all right. Live with it, don't complain. You yourself ordered it. You didn't know that sweet things, with no nutrition whatsoever, come and create diabetes for you. Overweight and diabetes, you didn't know that? Obesity, you didn't know that? Oh. Presumably now you know it. Then man tries and get around it. Well, we have an injection for you. We'll give you some insulin. Then we'll look into the genetic composition and see. Maybe it was caused by genes. No, it was caused by you. Who created your body? You. You're the creator of your body. It's your hand that dipped in and ate it. Anyway, that's fine. So, everything is actually in harmony and is in tune with this element of yajna. So, these ceremonies, this caste system was there primarily because society has to benefit. Food has to be produced, From food. How is it produced? Rainfall. How do we get the rainfall? We have to propitiate the elements, keep the gods happy. How do we do that? Put it in that language. How do we do that? We do it through sacrifice. Who protects you? Those people, military caste. Who finances them? The bulk of the people. What caste do they fall into? The merchant. Merchants, farmers, industrialists, and so on. People involved in commerce, industry, and agriculture. And what about if you have no skill? Then you fall into the last caste, Shudra, in which case you're also valuable. Somebody has to do the manual work. All working in harmony. For what purpose? So that we may get food. Then if we get food, what do we have? We have the vitality, we have the energy, we have the prana to discover our own true self. Without this machinery, we can't do it. The whole of society, understanding that, works in a cooperative way to get it. No social dissatisfaction. So then we go on to the 15th. We'll break off shortly. So karma pramottabhavam viti. Viti, no. Karma, action, has arisen. Brahma ksharsam bhavan tasmat sarvagatam prabha nityam yajne pratishtam. No, karma to have arisen from the Veda, Vitti, the knowable thing, arisen from Brahma, literally, Brahman, Brahma, Bhavam, arisen from Brahma, and the Veda from the imperishable, that which is always true, it comes from that. The all-pervading Veda, that entity that was always there, that we know as Brahma, is therefore ever centered in this yajna. What about any harm if you don't do it? We'll finish off just with this one last. Yes, evam, thus, he who does not follow on earth the wheel, thus revolving, sinful of life and rejoicing in the senses, he who partha lives in vain. Vivekananda said this. He said, he who lives for others lives, the rest are more dead than alive. Imagine. So he who does not follow on earth the wheel, thus revolving, in other words, nature's natural course. This, see, a wheel is designed there to show there's an equilibrium, some kind of natural synchronicity that goes on, some complementarity going on, that everybody looks after everything. Every part of the wheel is integrally associated with the other part. Without one part, you don't have the wheel. And the wheel implies a cycle, as a cyclical rhythm about everything. So if you want to upset that rhythm, naturally, it'll be destructive for you. But then, from 17 to 18, we learn the Atman is beyond action. So we say, Yastvat martye eva shat atmat pratash cha manavaha atman eva cha samstutsas shustas tasya karyam na vidyate. But the man who, Yaha, rejoices in the self, is satisfied with the self, and is centered in the self, for him truly there's nothing he has to do, no obligatory duty. And yet you don't find them doing nothing. Why? Because they're in a class of their own. They have to show the example. So in the ancient days we find these examples. King Janaka. Why is King Janaka such a beautiful example? It's because in those days nobody was more busy than the king. The king had to administer everything. He only had a council of people, but he was the main active entity, just like in a game of chess. He is the prize, he's the king, he's extremely important. If he doesn't act, if he's lazy, all his subjects will be lazy, the whole kingdom is ruined. So working for the welfare of all, but these people have no obligatory duty. Naivatasya kritena ruto na kritene ha kashana. For him there is in this world no object to acquire by doing an action, nor is any loss by not doing an action, nor has he to depend on anybody for anything. And yet they act. So we'll pick that up next week. See, a person like that will be ever joyful within. They'll have nothing to gain. Nothing to gain, nothing to lose. So why isn't a person acting? So we were sitting here yesterday and I gave an example. Supposing you want to learn the piano, you don't say, when I learn to master the whole thing, I'll no longer play it. No, when you master the whole thing, then you'll master any tune you like and play freely when you like and when you don't like. But you'll play for somebody else's entertainment. Initially you played for your mastery. Now once mastered, you play for others' entertainment. You become useful. Otherwise there's no other purpose for your acting. We leave it there.